So now it's time to install, well, this little thing, and it's the LegendaryTones Mr. Scary mod. So what is this, well, Mr. Scary mod exactly doing? And well, it's a really easy mod. We're essentially replacing, in my case, the V2 position, but it's the cathode follower tube within the amp, and adding this device that basically adds like an extra tube gain stage, which is an important distinction. Now, there are two versions of this mod. So there's something called the Hot Mod V2, which has two sort of toggle switches on there. And then this one, which is the George Lynch Mr. Scary version of the same module. And the cool thing here is we have a gain pot on there, so we can really dial in the amount of gain that we want from the mod itself. So this is the amp. It's a Marshall SV20h. I've just done some recordings with it prior to putting in the mod. I thought it'd be interesting to basically record some DI tracks beforehand, reamp them through the amp with these EQ settings, and well, maxed out high treble gain with and without a boost, and then do the same thing once the mod is installed, and then also with the high treble gain maxed out, and we'll do some playing a bit later. So here's the amp. We're just going to unscrew the back panel. We've now got access to the back, and the tube that we want to switch, we can't really see it too well, but it's actually behind this transformer here. So what we're going to be doing is simply putting this in place of the tube that's there. So on the mod itself, we have two ways of grounding it. As we don't have metal tube sockets within the amp, as you can see there, we're going to be taking off this grounding screw here so that we can simply install the mod and then ground using this handy clamp onto, say, one of the power amp tubes. I think they're spring retention clips, and we should be good to go. So I just noted the tube orientation on here. So as you can see with the 9 pins, there's that space there. So when I'm installing this from the back, as I can't see that so well, I'll have it lined up, so it should be an easy fit. I'm going to set this to about 1 o'clock already, and I'll leave the deep switch off for now. So as this is sitting behind the transformer, hope you can see that there, I'll have access to the knob and also the deep switch knob, but it's not the easiest, shall we say, but it should be fine. So for the grounding, I've taken off that clip that's at the bottom, and I've placed this grounding wire, shall we say, around the back, as since we're installing this behind this transformer there that you can see, it will have to loop round the back here, if you can see there. So it's going to loop round the back of the transformer, and then it's going to go towards this power amp tube clip over there. So I've got the mod installed, it's behind the transformer, and I've got access to that gain knob and also the deep switch. So as it's not facing parallel to the transformer, I have relatively easy access. We're just going to install this clip now, or the clamp, to one of the power amp tubes, and then see what we do with this cable so it doesn't move around too much, and I think we'll be good to go. So as the cable for the grounding clamp or the wire is relatively long, I've attached it to the power amp tube that's a bit further away, and I've put the actual grounding wire, as it were, that's going around the front of the transformer. So now onto the test itself. So there's two parts to this. If you want to skip ahead to just the playing, that's fine, of course, but the first part will be the more, I guess, scientific thing, in that I've recorded some DI tracks and we're reamping them through the amp itself. So we're going to do a reamp of the amp stock, so no mod, with the treble volume on full, like max gain. The same thing with the SD1 as a boost, followed by the mod installed, and then various settings with and without that boost. And finally, it'll just be my sort of sweet spot setting of the amp itself, along with some playing. And in terms of signal chain, it's the Marshall going into the Suhr reactive load box, and then into my interface. And then for the cab IR, we're using one from Ownhammer. So there you go. It's a really cool mod. I was very curious about trying this ever since I've seen them online and various videos, as it essentially, you know, hot rods your Marshall amp in the easiest possible way. You know, you're just replacing a tube within your amp with something that can be installed within maybe 5 minutes, the time to sort of, you know, take off the back cover and then actually install or replace the tube. Maybe more if you feel like pulling the chassis out, but as I was lazy, I just took out the back and it was relatively easy to install after that. Now the effects of this, it kind of depends on the tones you're going for. What I really liked is that I could still really clean up using the volume pot and get that kind of clean tone that I enjoy out of that amp by just rolling back the volume. But then when I roll things up, I get even more saturation from the amp itself. And then with the booster out front as well, I have a slightly wider variation of tones as I'm getting more kind of saturation and gain out of the amp with the mod. And then with the boost and then a combination of the volume pot on the guitar, I can get a wider variety of tones, which is a lot of fun to play with. So I'll leave a link to the website below where you can order this, and I will say it's not just for Marshall amps. It can also be used at, say, a Mesa Boogie, Soldano, Friedman, just to name a few. But the best thing is to go on the website, have a look at the information there, and David has been really helpful in getting information on this and setting this up. So a huge shout out to him as well. In any case, thanks a lot for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Take care.